Hi. So I have a question for you. Why did the man eat yeast and shoe polish before he went to bed? Because he wanted to rise and shine. Okay, so that was a really crappy riddle about sleep. But that's what we're going to be talking about on day 3 of 30 days of health and hope. We're going to be talking about sleep. So why is it so critical? I mean, in this time when we are so stressed, so concerned, we need to be sleeping our best. But why exactly is that? A lot of things happen while we're sleeping. Some of the things are that our bodies and our brains detoxify. So our brains let go of all of that nonsense during the day. Our bodies detoxify. So if you're struggling with either weight loss or something, or brain fog or low concentration, you want to be able to sleep so that your body can let go of all of that stuff. It's also a time when we secrete hormones. So, what are some of the hormones that we actually secrete while we're sleeping? One of them is melatonin, and you may be very familiar with that one. That's actually a hormone that is secreted by the pineal gland that's in the brain. And what it does is, at first, it helps us go to sleep, which is very important. But it also helps us to stay asleep. And it does this in two ways. One, it helps by calming us, by putting us into that parasympathetic mode, the rest and digest, the sleep mode, and taking us out of the sympathetic mode, the one we've been in, not only during the day, but especially now, that sympathetic mode where we're fight or flight and just everything's going hard. It also tends to lower our cortisol. And I've spoken about this before. Cortisol is one of those stress hormones that increases when we have more stress. So if we have a higher cortisol, we can't sleep. So for those of you who are struggling and just can't even go to sleep or, go to sleep and then wake up several times during the night, it may be that imbalance between melatonin and cortisol. But what are some of the other hormones that can be actually also secreted during the night? Another one is growth hormone, and it does exactly what it sounds like. Growth hormone is there to help growth and repair of tissues. So we need that, especially every night. Now, actually, speaking with both of those, as we get older, both melatonin and growth hormone, as we start to get older, those levels start to decrease. Also, when we're overly stressed, those levels decrease as well. So that's another reason for that. And then the third thing that gets secreted while we're sleeping, and there are many, many other things, but the third thing that we're going to talk about today that gets secreted are cytokines. Now, these are little teeny tiny proteins that the body secretes, and they are very important for lowering inflammation and helping us fight infection. Does anybody want their cytokines working for them right now? I know I do. So, those are the three. And what are the things that are just kind of going against all of these things? Well, it's the things that many of us are doing definitely at this point, but have been doing for months and years behind as well. So we're staying up late. We're, kind of watching television or being on the computer or scrolling through our Facebook channels and everything right before we go to sleep. That's doing two things. One is waking our brain up. It's really so that the brain doesn't know that it's time to go to sleep. And it's also exposing us to white light. And this is something that we want to get away from right before we go to sleep because the brain, melatonin is actually secreted when it's dark. So if we're in front of something like a bright television right before we go to sleep, the brain thinks, "Oh, it's time to stay up." And so you don't get that sleep thing getting going. And so we have the melatonin and the growth hormone, and we're still going to stay away from light. Another thing that we do is we watch, as I said, the crime dramas and things. And while we're watching these crime dramas, we're eating a big meal, because we're not really even paying attention. So we're eating a huge meal, which then puts our digestion into overdrive. So these are all the things that we could be doing, that we are doing, that are fighting against us going to sleep. So let's take it the other way. What can we do so that we do go to sleep when we want to, and when we fall asleep, we stay asleep? So the first thing, let's start with what we talked about with our digestion. So rather than eating a big meal right before we go to bed and then kind of tossing and turning all night as our body's trying to digest it, let's take our eating back 2, maybe even 3 hours before we go to sleep. So if you're going to bed at 10 or 11, which is really where we should be trying, if you're going to bed at 10 or 11, then that means you don't want to eat after 7 or 8 o'clock at night. Another thing is to stay away from that light, the brighter lights. And you can do that by just turning off the television altogether, which would be the best thing. But if you're not going to do that, then to use something like blue blocker glasses. And those are very easy to find right now. They're very, they're very affordable. You just get the blue blockers and it kind of blocks that light out. Sometimes you just put them on and you can just feel your entire body just relax because it's no longer being focused with that other brighter light. Another thing is to start having a nighttime ritual. So whatever that is for you, whether it's taking a bath in Epsom salts, whether it is just reading or gratitude journaling, whatever it is for you, just do that so that when you start, whether you start with 9 or 10, when you start, your body automatically knows, wow, good sleep is on the way. That's another thing we can do. And then finally, what we want to do is, well, I just talked about digestion, didn't I? Well, that would be fine. So those are the wonderful things that we can do. And all of these, when we do them together, what our body starts knowing is that it is time to sleep. Some of us, if we need a little supplementation with melatonin for a short period of time, then that would be an acceptable thing. Now, I say a short period of time because, as I spoke yesterday, the body is very wise. And so if you continue to give it something over and over again, it stops making its own. So, if you continue to give higher and higher levels of melatonin so that you sleep, you may actually see a reverse effect when your body stops making so much melatonin. So that's it for day 3. Sleep is really critically important, especially at this time when we are also stressed because we want to get out of the sympathetic mode into the parasympathetic mode where we can rest, digest, and sleep well. I look forward to speaking with you again tomorrow on day 4. This is Dr. Susan Lavelle of Premier Wellness. Take care.